continue with the recording or?
Yeah, we will recording, madam. We'll start recorded. You present, madam. Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, ma'am. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you for everything, ma'am. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see what is on the screen?
Yeah, it is yet to come, madam. Not yet come. You present.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, now it's showing, madam. Now it is visible.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. A very warm welcome to all the participants, learners, as it is called here. We take up this DCE2 with feature writing today. Right? We are going to deal with feature writing. I'm sharing my screen here so that you can see what is there in the units. And I'm not very clear about the fact whether you have received the material or not. Have you received the material? Are you familiar with the material? Vikash and Nigma Jacob?
Thanks, ma'am. I have access to the
Madam,
materials.
excuse me, madam.
but-
Just now, our director informed that no material be sent to them either by email or by post. They have to download from their LMS portal. They have already
Yeah,
communicated by email to them. We have again posted also, or they can view it from the e-Gyan question, digital material.
Huh. Yes, ma'am. What I want to know is whether they have already done that or not.
I have access to the material, ma'am, but I have not yet read it.
Okay, all right. Okay, at least you're aware of the different components that are available there in those materials, no? Right. I'm happy because so far so good. If you know what is there on hand, then it is easier to maneuver, through the different units. Okay. Now the first unit in feature writing is about writing about women. So let us take up that. And initially we need to get started with the meaning of feature writing. What is feature writing? It is a form of journalistic writing. It is a form of journalistic writing where a bit of it involves writing about certain topics. You can perhaps write about certain current trending topics and topics where people have where topics have gone viral perhaps and they're trending. Writing on those is called feature writing. Do you understand? And this in journalism is a very, very well-known and popular means of writing. So you write a feature about some topic. That is what it is. Do you understand? And it can be about people as well, not just about issues. It's not just about certain topics. It can also be about certain personalities, great personalities, or popular people. It can be about celebrities. It can be about any of these. You see, that is what is called as feature writing. So feature writing is basically a kind or a form of writing. Right. Now, what is the form and how is the structure of this feature writing? What do we do? How do we write this? What is the form that this feature writing takes? See, every bit of writing has a predefined structure. So you must know that everything that we write will adhere to some kind of a form, and that form is particular to the kind of writing we are taking up. So with feature writing, it is a longer piece of writing. It is similar to an essay, and it is very, very informative in the sense it's packed with information. So anybody who reads your feature article will be very well informed about what you want them to understand. So your feature should have lot of information regarding the chosen topic or issue or any personality. And then where do we find these kind of feature writings? We normally find them in newspapers. Trying to technically connect me. I don't understand, Nigma Jacob. What do you mean somebody is trying to technically connect me? You're already connected, isn't it? Right. So it is used in newspapers. Normally, you see, when you have the editorial in the middle of the newspaper, you also have a feature article, very close to the editorial. So these feature articles are valued greatly because they carry very authentic information about the issue or the topic. So in case you want some information, see, this is all regarding print media. It has nothing to do with electronic media as such. Basically, we are talking today about print media feature writing. Now, today, if you want to access any information, you have the internet at your fingertips. You can Google it out and then immediately take your information. That is how things stand today. But in print media, what is it that you need to rely on? In print media, you need to rely on these feature articles because they are the ones which authenticate information. So they give you information where you can be very, very sure of your stand. When I read a feature article, I know that the material that I'm reading is authentic. It is absolutely validated. It's not just hearsay. So that is how important a feature article is. And then it is also used in magazines and in online media. There are these blog spots sometimes, and there are certain newspapers and things like that, isn't it? So even there, wherever writing as such is evident, you will find feature articles as well, right? And then you have to write these feature articles in a way where you get a 360-degree exposure. It is not just a one-sided opinion. It is not an opinionated piece of writing. You need to look at it with 360 degrees perspective. Every perspective needs to be represented there. That becomes very, very important. So that's a major thing which you need to understand here. So, and another thing is you need to captivate the reader's interest. The purpose of writing itself is to see that readers are interested in reading your feature, isn't it? So your writing should be, the style of your writing should be in such a way that where the readers are interested to go through the entire feature article. So you should write it in a captivating way. You must begin. I will talk about it presently in a greater detail. But right now, you need to have a very, very interesting angle to it. And you must take care that you have 360 degrees representation. That is very, very important. You need to look at it from different angles, not just one side or two sides. From different perspectives, you need to research it out and then write it in detail, right? Next. There are certain features of feature writing. What are those? We call this the applause formula. You know what an applause is, don't you? An applause means basically appreciation, hand clapping. That is what applause means. So here we need to have the applause formula to write a feature. What is that? A stands for appeal. It should have an appeal. It should have an appeal in the sense, when you read this article, it should have some kind of an appeal. How? One moment. Shri Krishna. Is it visible now? Okay. So it should have an appeal. It should be interesting. It should be interesting. It should captivate the reader. The reader must want to read it. And then it should have facts, plain facts, without any exaggeration. It must carry certain plain facts. And then it should involve quotes from different people, personalities. You see, people must have commented on that. People must have passed an opinion on that. People, you must carry those quotes. Those become very, very important. Then it should be logical. See, there has to be some kind of a coherence from one unit to the other, between different paragraphs. It should have some kind of a coherence. It should be meaningfully connected. That is the meaning of coherence. And then logical. When you're presenting an argument or when you're presenting, your facts, it should carry some logic. It is related to coherence. You see, it should be coherent in the sense it should make sense, it should be meaningful, and it should be logically interconnected. And then, of course, when you're writing a feature, it will involve an action there, isn't it? You are talking about a certain issue, isn't it? So that is the action. And then see to it that it carries some kind of a universal significance. That is, it should be relevant to people. See, now if I write something that is just pertaining to Karnataka or Bangalore, it may not interest you there, in South Africa or wherever you come from, right? If it is situated and dated, in a particular way, it may not have that kind of a universal appeal. You may not be interested to read about it, isn't it? It should carry that kind of a general appeal where people across boundaries are able to access it. They must be able to understand it. So that becomes very, very important. And of course, infuse it with a certain energy. Your writing should be powerful enough to communicate your ideas very, very successfully. Okay, so that is also important. One moment, I'm not able to get to the other slide. Right. Now, let us look at the applause formula in a greater detail. I have given you the, meanings of each letter here. The writing should appeal to the readers, so that there is a rapport, that is connected. The rapport should be there between you, the writer, and the reader. And then the feature must contain facts to be acceptable. I told you, plain facts where there is no exaggeration of any kind. People must understand when readers read your article, they must know that what you are telling them is reliable. It is the truth. And then it mention must be made of people who are well connected with the content. I told you that. People who can give you an opinion, or people involved with the situation, or whatever. You must mention the quotes that these personalities make. And of course, I told you logical connection must be there. Right. So your, writing should have, I told you, it should have that energy to, whenever somebody reads the feature, they must be motivated to do something. That is how powerful your writing should be. And of course, I told you universal orientation must be given to it, so that people across boundaries will have a connect with what you are writing, and it should be significant, right? Now I come to this part where we talk about Sorry, there is some problem with my laptop. I'm not able to share the screen properly. But anyway, I will continue to talk to you about this from my notes. Are you able to hear what I'm saying, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, coming to the aims and objectives of this unit. This unit, first one, is about identifying significant topics. Now, they have given to us here in the material, writing about women. Yes, Vikash, there is some problem with my laptop. So until then, I shall continue to speak to you with my mobile phone. I'm getting that ready. Up until then, I shall, do this, and then I will share my screen. Now, the first aim of this unit share screen. Now it's possible, isn't it? Yes. Can you see it now?
Yes, madam, it's coming now. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. Now, in aims and objectives, first is with writing about women. The unit aims at acquainting you with the nature and quality of feature writing on women in newspapers and journals. Now, I have highlighted certain keywords here. What are those keywords here? First is the way in which you write your feature article, the quality of your feature article. Now, first, this unit will teach you to maintain a certain quality of writing. So, your feature writing should have a certain quality. So, this unit will help you to maintain or to develop that quality. And then it will be particularly this particular unit, unit 1, will be all about writing about women. So it will generally, orient you about writing on women or writing about women. Where will you write these features? You will write it in newspapers and journals. So to write an article, basically a feature article in newspapers and journals, this unit will teach you how to maintain a certain quality and what kind of a writing you should develop. So that is the first aim. Next is, much of the writing on women reflects the age-old prejudices and preconceived notions about them. Now, in society, I'm sure the same situation must prevail even in your country, because India and Africa share very, very similar societal patterns. So it may not be very difficult for you to relate to certain things here. Now, this aim talks about stereotypical notions of women. There are these patriarchal notions that women are to do only certain things in life. Women need not enter the main arena of professions. It is a secondary position that a woman must by default occupy. Now, these are all certain patriarchal, stereotypical notions about women prevalent in society. Now, this unit aims at teaching you to break the stereotypical patterns and write about women. This is the second feature. Are you with me? Do you understand what I'm trying to get at? Right. And then the third is the unit underlines the need for writers to change their basic attitudes to women and to treat them on an equal footing with men. See, there are these stereotypes in society, there is no doubt about it. Things are slightly changing. I must say here and place it on record that we have really progressed much further ahead, and we have so many things, so many areas where women hold the primal positions there, right? So we have come way ahead of these notions, but still we find traces of these stereotypes in society. Now, when your feature has to break these stereotypical patterns, the first thing that you must know is you as a writer must change your attitude about women. Now, if you are a person holding such patriarchal notions of women and their status in society, how can you bring out an effective feature on emancipation of women? Because deep down, you don't ascribe to it. You don't support that issue deep down in your heart. You have this notion that patriarchal positions are the right thing. When you hold those kind of notions, it is very difficult for you to come out with a very impactful, powerful feature writing. You must, in your own hearts, feel the change. You must be adaptable to the change. You should be in a position to reciprocate to these societal changes in societal patterns. If you are able to do that, and if you firmly believe that whatever is happening for the best for women, then your article becomes absolutely powerful. But if your notions are contrary to what you are writing, your writing will never be an effective piece of writing. So it is very important for you to have, yes, absolutely. In order to validate whatever you are writing, you must be authentic to that issue. You must carry that accountability of notions. If you don't have it, then your writing will fall flat. That applause formula will not work. A for appeal will not happen at all. Action, A for action can never come about. Your writing can never be motivating. Your writing can never impact people. So only when you hold these notions of what you're writing in your heart, then your writing becomes absolutely powerful. It just, creates records. Then, only then will your feature articles on women's concerns be considered as serious journalism. That is what I'm saying. If you want your piece of writing to be considered absolutely authentic and very impactful and powerful, it should infuse that kind of an energy, then you should hold those notions in your heart. You must carry those sentiments yourself. Then your writing absolutely will become very, very powerful. Next. Right. Aims and objectives continued. I continue with this. This unit also explains why indifferent and irresponsible attitudes to women need to be discarded. In this unit, you will see it. We are going to read about it. We are going to understand and accept or perhaps analyze how indifferent and irresponsible attitudes need to be changed. We cannot be very nonchalant regarding women's concerns. You cannot be very condescending towards these issues pertaining to women. So we shall look at all that in a great detail in this particular unit. And then this unit also will defend the position that women should be approached with humility and imagination if one wants to treat them as equals. This is very, very important. See, when you read modern literature, there is one aspect there, and that is the self-centered approach to literature. Man basically, you see, is so self-centric. He puts himself at the center and then evaluates the world according to his perspectives. You see, it is a self-centric approach, we say. Now, that should be given up. You must be in a position to acknowledge the presence of others in the world. Now, here the reference is to women alone, but I want to extend it a little and then let you know that we must accept the fact that the earth belongs to everyone, not just human beings. I want to draw your attention to a particular short story by Vaikom Bashir. He is a Malayali writer from Kerala, South India. A very well-known short story writer, Bashir, Vaikom Bashir. You must read him sometime because these are all, people who create benchmarks for our progress in the study of literature. So I keep making references to these, writers. So you can make a side note of all these writers, and sometime in your course of study or perhaps later, whenever you have time, you must make it a point. You put it in the bucket list of your reading wish list, and then you must take them up and then read them. Vaikom Bashir's short story, The Inheritors of Earth. I think it is titled that. The Inheritors of Earth. Now here, Bashir details in a very, very beautiful way. There is a man who buys a plot of land and builds a house on that, and then he finds a snake, intruding his space there. And immediately the man is all up in arms, and then, it's almost like he says, "How dare you enter my house? I have constructed this house, and how dare you enter this?" It's like an imaginary conversation that he holds with the snake. And then, the snake seems to rise up its hood and say, "How dare you call it your space? Wherever you go, you seem to be putting your footprint there. And where am I to live? If you keep constructing houses everywhere, buildings everywhere, where am I to live then? Where is my space then?" The man kind of gets up, in this thing, and then he's riled and he says, "Do you want me to show you the documents of ownership? Do you want me to show this? Do you want me to show that?" And then the snake says, "What ownership are you talking of? This place belongs to me as well as you. Both of us, have inherited this earth. So how can you say that you have a document to legalize your space? Just because I don't have a document to legalize my space, does it mean that I don't have the right to inhabit the space?" Beautiful piece of writing. It's a short story. And then again, I want to draw your attention to another speech by Chief Seattle, the Red Indian native. It's available on the net. Chief Seattle's, speech. You can access that. You write it down someplace and then, download that article, that speech, and then read it at your leisure. The white man, that, isn't it? The history of America and how, the Britishers went and settled down there. I'm sure you know all that. And then when he went and settled down there, the white man, that's the Britisher, the American now, talks to Chief Seattle and he says, we want to buy from you this piece of land. And then Chief Seattle, he says, where is the question of buying and selling? I'm not the owner of this land, right? So I have nothing to sell. And who are you to come here and say, I want to buy it? Who am I to sell it? Who are you to buy this? It is a property, it is a legacy that has been bequeathed to us by our forefathers. So yes. So we need to develop that feeling of custodianship. It's a legacy. It's absolutely a legacy that is bequeathed to us by our forefathers. And then we need to treat it as such. We are only here to safeguard it. So where then comes the question of selling and buying? And further, we need to understand that we are only a part of this universe. I want to take you back to the history of English literature, the period of the Romantics. The philosophy of the Romantics, where Wordsworth, Coleridge, and all of them, Blake, starting with Blake, said that the entire cosmos is an integrated whole. And we, human beings, are only a tiny part of it. And when we understand that we are only a tiny part of this integrated whole, there comes with this understanding a great humility. A very, very, very great humility. It makes us very humble. Why? Because we are disinvested of that self-centric attitude. We no longer will carry that attitude of I. It is because of me. I am the owner. I. That thing goes away. When you understand that you're only a tiny part of that integrated whole, it bestows upon you that understanding, humanizes you. How do you get humanized? By understanding this fact that you need to be humble, that there are cohabitants along with you across species. All of us are gifted this earth. We need to treasure this legacy. It is not for me alone, the human being, right? So, with that humility, we also need to recognize that women are an equal part of ourselves. So, the attitudes, the stereotypical attitudes of patriarchy need to be broken down completely. We need to just squash that. We just need to leave that. So, we need to learn to accept women as our equals. Now, for the purpose of this particular unit, I'm talking about women alone. But as I mentioned in the general context, it's not just about women that we need to have this assertion. We need to have this assertion that all species belong to this earth. We have every right to share it with them. There is this beautiful analogy, which was given forward by Dr. H. Narasimhaya, a very great visionary educationist, you see. And then, he narrated once this analogy. I believe there was an exhibition held in space from different galaxies, from different universes. exhibits were all given there. Everybody was invited across so many galaxies. Everybody was invited to view the exhibition. Man from Earth was also there. So somebody, from some other galaxy or universe or whatever, comes there and asks the curator of that exhibition and then says, show me the most intelligent species of all this. I want to see the most intelligent species. And the curator takes him and comes to the exhibit titled Human Being and says, look, this exhibit happens to be the most intelligent species. And then, that species from whichever, place, he looks at all that and then says, yeah, I see. This is the most intelligent one. Excellent. Now show me the stupidest amongst all. Absolutely the dumbest. I want to see that as well. The curator says, oh, that's easy. Come along. And he takes him, to the other side of the same exhibit called Human Being. And then, makes him stand there and then says, see, this is the stupidest of all species. Now that species, gets a bit angry and then says, what, are you kidding? You tell me that this is the most intelligent, and now you're telling me that this is the most stupid of all. What do you mean? And then the curator answers and says, sir, you got me wrong. I absolutely am presenting plain facts. The human being has the greatest brain to create anything. He can, even clone perhaps another human being. He can discover, he can invent, he can do what not. The brain is absolutely of that magnitude. He is absolutely by far the most intelligent. I call him the stupidest as well because he uses it on his own self. That is why I call him the most stupid. So now do you understand? We need to come about with this assertion that there are other co-inhabitants on this earth and we need to kind of live with them with this tolerance and accept everything, everyone with this attitude of acceptance. They have every right to be with us as we do. So that is something which is very, very important. So here we need to defend this position that women should be approached with humility and imagination as well. This is what imagination, as I told you, gave you so many examples for this. If we need to treat them as equals. And then visualize women's problem. Yes, you're absolutely right, Vikash. I'm so happy that you're able to kind of connect and catch whatever we are talking about. I'm very, very happy. Good. Right. So another point here is visualize women's problems from many points of view in order to counteract the traditional bias in writing on women. Very true. I mentioned this to you earlier in the first few slides as well. What did I say then to you? I said, it is very, very important to have multiple angles in writing. So here we need to look at women's problems globally, 360 degrees. From every angle, we need to, visit this issue. Only then will we be able to counteract that traditional bias. That bias which has been set in its place. It's almost there in our DNA now, isn't it? It's kind of ingrained so deeply. Now, if we need to change that, we need to have a different or multiple perspectives to the whole issue. When we have these multiple perspectives, then it becomes easier to break that traditional bias. And then research well on such topics. See, any feature article that you may take up should have solid research backing it. You cannot write it, just offhand. Off the cuff, you cannot, do anything. Yes, you can come to know of that only when you have extensive reading. Exposure to that topic is the one which will enable you to have that kind of a perspective. Things which are unknown to you. What is the meaning of research? Unearthing information, facts that are not known to you, isn't it? So you need to have solid research backing your writing. I mentioned this earlier as well. Even in a newspaper layout, feature articles come with accompanied by the editorials. It's very close to the editorial. So you should be very, very clear. You should have an absolute factual representation. It should not be in any sense, a very negligent, nonchalant kind of writing. It should be serious journalism. And that can happen only when you research that topic very well. So you must see it. See, one way of getting more information on the net is this. When you type out a particular topic, it says all images, and then when you come here, books, and then it says more, right? In the Google status bar, it says that. Now, if you click on that, it will open up many things, many articles, many books, excerpts, from those books are also given there. So you can get started on that and then, further it up later. So it gives you, an entry into certain areas. So that is how you begin your research. And then avoid all unsupported accounts and statements, gossip, speculation, cheap sensationalism, etc. So serious journalism has no place for these things. It has to be validated. Every point that you make needs to be well validated. That is very, very important. And then use appropriate language and style and avoid gender bias in language. Now, this comes through sheer practice. Avoiding gender bias. See, when we write, we automatically use he to mean one, to mean all. He who understands this knows it all. Don't we use words, sentences, words like that? So that is conveying gender bias. So we need to adopt a neutral style of writing where he can be replaced by one. One needs to know it. One needs to understand this. So, we can use words like that with, neutral meanings, neutral genders. So it doesn't carry any gender specific, information. So we must make sure that we avoid the pronouns which are gender specific. Only then it becomes easy. Do you understand? So the language that we adopt must also be formal. You can be humorous in a very formal way as well. It doesn't mean that you should not be humorous in your feature writing. You can adopt a humorous style, no doubt about it, but then it should not be spoofing. You should not spoof. You should not kind of write spurious things. It should be formal writing, but it can be interspersed with humor in there. That is possible. And then suffering and violence should not be treated lightly or satirically. This is again communicative of gender bias. See, violence and suffering, basically by women or otherwise, you should never satirize it. You should, in the sense, you should not laugh about it. You should not make a joke about it. That is wrong. So, and you should not dismiss it away as well. You cannot treat it lightly because it's an important part. So you cannot use it, in a way which is just like that, gloss over it. No, you must treat it with its due, importance. That's important. And write in a lively and readable style. Your writing should have a very good style. It should be readable. That is important. Do you understand? Is so much clear to you? Yes? Done. Right. I continue with this. Women's writing is a recent development in feature writing. Now, so far, feature articles did not have topics related to women. Now we have that. So one is, I have given you here certain magazines, names of some magazines. These are not there in your unit, but I have mentioned it so that you can just check it out and then perhaps have something extra, in your reading material. Now, one is Cosmopolitan magazine. Now, this is for a particular kind of a woman, and this is about the fearless, fun-loving woman. Okay, that is one. Okay, so Cosmopolitan magazine keeps you up to date with the latest fashion, beauty tips, career advice, and relationship trends. So, Cosmopolitan is about celebrating women. It supports, encourages, entertains, amuses, inspires, and uplifts, helping its readers to be the very best that they can be. So this is a particular women's, magazine, and the import of that magazine is this: it celebrates women, and when it celebrates women, automatically by default, it means that it is supportive of women. It is very, very encouraging because it creates a platform for women, and of course, it caters to all the fun-loving aspects by women or for women. Then Women's Era. This is an Indian magazine. Women's Era is an Indian magazine, whereas Cosmopolitan is available. It's globally sourced out. Women's Era is a magazine which creates a platform for women to get the latest information and tips about fashion, beauty, health, and relationship advice. Women's Era is one of the leading brands of Delhi press and the most popular women magazine in India. Now, apart from this, fashion and other things and all that, Women's Era also has one important aspect which I have forgotten to include here, and that is to nurture the literary aspects of women. There are, short stories written by women. Women's Era features short stories written by women. So this is also a platform for, literary women. So that can also be taken up. So here, this is another very popular Indian women's magazine. Vogue, of course, you know this. It is a one-stop destination for women, fashion, beauty, lifestyle, entertainment. That content of Vogue is largely this. So it, caters to get beauty tips, fashion tips from experts and celebrity inspiration for looks, home decor, and more. So it includes all this. It's a global kind of a thing which gives you so many things about women, right? So it is undoubtedly intended for women who are successful, beautiful, and want to be aware of all the novelties of fashion and beauty. So that is Vogue. Femina. Femina is again another Indian women's magazine. Femina is the first and most read women's magazine in India. For over 50 years now, Femina has been capturing the essence of the modern woman and how she has been evolving. This is the most important aspect. It traces the development of the woman over eras. So that is important, and it's been half a century since the inception. So it is quite an authentic, magazine where it traces the development of the woman in the society. Femina it talks about beauty, relationships, fashion, etc. It also publishes articles on celebrities and cultural facts of Indian women. So that is another thing here. Graha Shobha, again another Hindi Indian magazine. Graha Shobha is again published by Delhi Press. It's the largest Hindi women magazine in India with more than 1 million readers, and it is published in 8 languages. Graha Shobha is an engaging compendium of articles on homemaking, fashion, beauty, cookery, health, and stories on relationships. It seeks to develop a socially and culturally active and informed citizen who is well aware of her rights and wants to prepare herself to make the right choices. Do you understand? So this is Graha Shobha. So I have taken it from businessworld.in. That is the website reference for these magazines that I have quoted here. Right. Why women's writing and what are the trends in writing? Right? Why has this unit chosen women's writing? Where was the need? The first is, it is the trending subject. You see, that is the first reason. It is trending now. That is the first one. And another is to break that patronizing stand and to project the reality of the importance of women in society. Now, these are the reasons why we need to address women's writing as feature articles. Do you understand? These are basically the main important points. Then, trends. What are the trends in writing? In most feature articles on women, we read about pretty women, always well dressed, who seem to have all the time in the world on their hands. Then there are other common types: good mothers, good wives, good daughters. And if women are not either of these, then very often they are just not there at all. So the articles, that have come now, the magazines that I mentioned today, you see just now, by and large, largely focus on these two topics. How women should look pretty, why she must have that good etiquette. And it looks like the woman has no other business than cultivating these qualities. And of course, there are these stereotypical factors like a good mother, a good wife, good housemakers, homemakers, housewives, homemakers, good daughters. Now, there is a need to revisit these terms. Why? Why good mothers? What is the parameter to define a good mother as against a bad mother? What are the value systems, which lead you to say that she is a good wife as against a bad wife? We need to revisit these, isn't it? There is every need today to ask questions of these preset notions. So that is why women's writing as a feature article gains importance. We need to have women's writing as features here. Why? Because of the topics that I have mentioned so far. Now, if you notice, that's a very narrow view of what human, after all, what humanizes us is defects and aspirations. Exactly. So that is why we need to have features written on women. There is no need, to have these terms as a good wife, good mother. What happens to an uncouth woman? Does she lose her womanhood? Is she less of a woman if she's absolutely rural and doesn't possess the civilities that are required of an urban existence? So see, these are certain things which we need to re-evaluate in society, and for that, writing has to come about. Writing about these issues have to come about. It is only through writing that one gains awareness and also spreads awareness. So that becomes very, very important. So there was this notion that if women didn't fall into these above mentioned categories, then very often they were just not there at all. They were not women worthy of cognizance. That was how it was. So we need to revisit this. There is every need to revisit these in these feature writings. Are you with me? Yes. Next. How to change existing attitudes and suggestions about writing. Is it easy to change opinions of people? Is it that easy? It's not easy. It's absolutely not easy. So we need to cultivate an open-minded writing. The first step to creating some kind of a change is to have an open mind. When you write with an open mind, that writing, carries a lot of power, as I mentioned in the earlier slides. Respectful attitude. If the writing itself is disrespectful, how can you create any kind of a change? How can you hope for any kind of a change? Not possible. It's just not possible. Be accountable for the write-up. Whatever you're writing, you need to be accountable for it. In the sense, your writing should be backed by facts. That is very, very important. You should be backed by solid research. You should have facts. So when you write something, automatically you become accountable for whatever you are writing. And it's correct because you know what you're writing because you have researched so much about it. So that is something which you need to keep in mind. Then, suggestion, avoid frivolity. I told you this. We have been mentioning this on and off. We need to be, serious about our writing. Our stance must be very, very formal. Only then it can communicate that kind of a power. Otherwise, it's not possible. Okay? If you will permit me, I will drink a bit of water. Sorry. So what are the suggestions that the unit gives for writing? One is research. You should research this properly. Another, your style must be very lively. It should be interesting. It shouldn't be pedantic, where you have many complex sentences, compound sentences, and then, you make it long winded sentences. You shouldn't write like that. When you write like that, then people lose interest. So it should be, the style must be very engaging. It should be a simple writing, easy language, and intersperse it with humor. I told you that. So if you give analogies which are humorous, then the reader will want to continue with reading. It happens with us also, no? So many times when we read certain pieces, we find that it affords very easy reading. It just takes us along. But then there are certain other kinds of writing which is so dense that we kind of give up midway and say it's not for me. So we must adopt that kind of a style where, the writing engages the reader and takes the reader along. And then avoid gender bias. See, now, for example, when I'm talking about readers, I can also say, see, it should engage the reader and take him along. When I say him along, that is gender bias. It should take them along. That is neutral writing. Do you understand? So our writing, should also avoid gender bias. Writing should be very conscious. Now, that was about Unit 1. Now we begin with Unit 2. But what is the time now? It's 4:45. I think I will just break here. Continue with this tomorrow. I still have how many more slides? One. I have about, slides till 22, and right now we are in 14. Because I have now come to Unit 2, I just want to stop here. Otherwise, I'll be midway Unit 2. The whole thing is recorded, Vikash. So I think you will be able to access the recording in that LMS portal. Okay. So I will take a break, then continue at the same time tomorrow, 3 o'clock. 3 to 5 is my class. I will finish this and take book review. Okay? Done. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, ma'am. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.